But here's the universal thing that cold plunges do. They make you uncomfortable. But the benefits to being uncomfortable are proven in that this does help your resilience mentally and your discipline. I cannot say enough about how much I think people need to practice being uncomfortable in order to be prepared to be uncomfortable.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Thick Thighs Save Lives podcast. I'm Kelsey.
Hey, you girl.
Oh, hey, how you
What's
doing?
happening? What's going on? What's the word? What's
I
going
don't know. I
on?
don't know what the word is. I
I'm
wasn't prepped with
Rachel.
what's the word.
Well, like on the street, like what's going on? What are the
I just
people
came back
talking
from the
about?
streets.
Girl, you always be in the streets, and I want to know what are the people talking about out there? What's going on? What's happening? I'm
You know what people
just,
are talking about? Cold plunges. That's what people are talking about.
oh my God, it's so true.
And butt sunning. I didn't plan
Wait,
to bring that up.
wait, what's butt sunning?
You
I
don't
know
know
about
about the butt sunning or anal sunning? Like
what?
you haven't seen all the people. It's the latest crave on the internet. It's to like your butthole needs like to be sunned and it has all kinds of benefits. That's not what we're doing on today's episode, but it might be food for thought for the future. But like people are like fetal position, like hands in the air, like you're in stirrups with the gyno out in their backyard, getting the sun directly to the butthole.
Nah. Nah.
Yeah.
Wait.
Every time I see this, I'm
What?
like, where do you guys live? Like, where do you live? Like, does everyone just have like 6-foot fences and then like they just think like there's no holes in them, like they just don't care? Or do they just not care? I don't know. But like what's going like is everyone just living in super like who's doing this like living super rurally doesn't care or like you just don't have any neighbors? I don't know.
Well, I mean, everybody's got a butthole.
Yeah, but like
So,
there's only certain
wait,
times
wait.
where
I
you're like
have to
fetally up there. This is like
what?
I'm talking you're in happy baby. You're
What? So wait, let me just get this straight. Is this the best way to like absorb vitamin D?
Yes, it has a ton of vitamin
Don't
D
make
benefits.
don't make any vitamin D jokes,
Well,
okay? I don't want any vitamin D near my butthole. I don't I can't even say vitamin D around my husband because he's like, "You want some of that vitamin D?" I'm like, "Get out of here! Get away from me!" And I said vitamin D about the butthole, so now I just can't. You can't unhear that.
you can't unhear that for
Damn
sure.
it!
No, yeah, I mean, we know the sun has all kinds of benefits, but apparently, like, there are some underserved areas that are not getting some sunshine, and that definitely
Isn't that
apparently
on
improves your
purpose?
butthole.
Like evolutionary?
I don't
Like
think so. I don't know if we followed the evolutionary plan exactly. Like, I don't know. Like, we may have made some pivots, and somewhere along the line, it was like, wow, you should be sunning your butthole.
damn it, this is another thing for me to do. I've got to get groceries. I've got to like keep up on my appearance and my self-care. I've got to sun my butthole. Like this list is getting longer and
The list
longer.
is outrageous.
Well, I'm going to say from a personal standpoint, sunning my butthole sounds so much better than a cold plunge to me.
Yeah, I
I'll
agree.
take sunning my butthole all day, twice on Sunday. If you said you have to do one of these and it's going to be a massive improvement in your health, I would be like, where's my stirrups? Just show me where the stirrups are. I don't give a shit about neighbors because I'm not going to cold plunge no matter what. But, TikTok is telling me that I have to. Basically, every fitfluencer is telling me that I have to.
Are you in
So,
you're in a cold plunge algorithm now?
I don't think I am, but I do take like a little bit of pleasure in watching like the people do it. So maybe I'm like lingering a little bit too long on those videos, so now I'm getting more something. I definitely don't interact with them because that looks so horrible on every level that it's like what I'm watching because it's like the car crash kind of scenario where I'm like I just want to watch because I can't believe this person is doing this to themselves on purpose. But I will say we are going to uncover the cold plunge trend today. We are going to talk about it. We're going to talk about why everybody's doing it, and we're going to talk about like are these benefits real? And then next week, butt sunning. No, just kidding. I don't think we're.
And then
I'm
next
just
week's
gonna
episode,
start
we're
that
talking
on
about
my
butt
own.
sunning.
I,
No, I mean these are definitely the things that the different things people are talking about, and I do think I mean we're gonna go over the benefits, the struggles, and like you'll come out with being like, okay, should I try this? Is it worth it? And we'll talk about that. But there are definitely some validity in some of the things that are that people have been doing or new things that they're trying that could benefit. Is it something you 100% have to do? No, there's nothing you 100% have to do. But I personally am interested in some of that information with a caveat that I watched this funny thing about fit influencers the other day that was kind of I know a lot of people share their morning routines, and this was kind of a spoof on that, which was like every morning I wake up before the sun because I know I'm better than the sun. And I hand pick my coffee and squeeze the beans and the caffeine out of each individual one. Is this time consuming? Sure. But is it worth it for the coffee beans? It is. Then I say my morning mantra. Like it went through like the ridiculousness of some of these um routines or like things that are being pumped out into the health and fitness community in a funny way because to be honest with you, I mean, in some ways I would be considered an influencer, but I have never put out any of those things where I've been like, so every morning before 4:30 I go and I glance out the window and I think, where is the sun? I've already beat it to its job.
Jesus.
Did
Okay. I have to comment on this because I'm 90% sure those things are just being created to make us feel bad about the fact that we're just eating cold eggs with like an angry resting bitch face, or like in my case like please get your shoes on, please get your shoes on, please get your shoes like I well, first of all, I want to just say that I know what your morning routine is, and it is the thing I just described. You eat your eggs with an angry face that you have to be up. And you've said a million times, about the benefits of eating breakfast and stuff, and I'm like she lives that. She will get up as early as necessary to eat breakfast, but she's not doing it with a smile on her face. And she's certainly
No.
not morning mantraing her into her eggs. And listen, I
Squeezing
think
each
it's
individual caffeinated bean.
I I think it's great if you wanna set some, goals for yourself. I just think that also just sit down for a minute. Just sit down. You're not superior. Just get out of here and stop making us all feel bad. Now, with regards to
Well,
cold
let me
plunging.
let me just think like close the loop on that for a second. If you pull
Oh,
out anything from any of those routines that works for you and that you like, just like how we'll talk about cold plunging, like do it, pull it out. But like don't think that you have to do any of all of these things to be able to like live a healthy lifestyle. Some of these are very beneficial. Like journaling can be very beneficial, meditating can be very very beneficial, but like the idea that you need to like wake up meditate, journal, do your gratitude, everything, like squeeze your fresh beans, eat your breakfast. Like, so I just want you to like think about your life, think about your ideal life, and figure out what fits in there. And if cold plunging is one of them, like, let's talk about some benefits. If you're like hard no pass on me, that's okay too.
Yeah, like you gotta do you, boo boo. You
Yeah.
got to do you. And if your life looks like a ton of chaos a lot of the time, like that's okay too. Like it's okay if there are, things that are extenuating circumstances that are out of your control, that like your mornings don't look like a peaceful zen awesome, or you're before bed, like you got to do you. And I guarantee you those influencers don't have kids. Anyways, moving on. Just angry mom stuff. um so, cold plunging. So, the first thing that I want to say about cold plunging is it's not new, okay? Even though everybody on the internet is acting like they invented it.
The same thing
um,
happened with eating like like protein, berries, starch. It was like, wait a minute.
Wait a minute. We've been doing this for centuries. It has always been a therapeutic practice that has been out there. It's in sports medicine, they're calling it cold water immersion. So basically, you have seen people do this, professional athletes probably. Many times before, and now it's kind of filtering into like maybe there's benefits for the everyday athlete, the everyday person. We're looking at immersing yourself in cold water, and that's like basically everything but your head. And the water temperature, it varies from person to person in tolerance level, but basically why athletes have been doing this, um professional athletes, has in the past has been to make sure that they're sort of ready to go the next day. The benefits are taking away that immediate inflammation, so that muscle soreness isn't as much of an issue for you. So we see like pitchers doing this so that they can pitch the next day, right? We see professional athletes doing this because it's their job to be able to be out on the field the next day running at peak performance. And so people are like, wait, but I want to run at peak performance too. What do I got to do? Sun my butthole? Do I got to get in the cold plunge? Like, what happens? And so it's now filtered down to like a sort of normal, regular day, everyday person. And I mean, there are a lot, like I saw a $5,000 tub. Did you see
Yeah.
that when you were
Yeah,
researching?
my gym head in Florida had actually just gotten one. And so what happened was, one of the coaches there, the owner, had gone to a seminar about cold plunging, and he'd come out with the idea and need to get one. So he got one and then wanted to, chat with me about some of the benefits that he heard at this seminar, and, thinking about offering it to, or not thinking about now, offers it to all of everyone who has a membership there. So I was like, wow, you ordered one? And he was like, yeah, it was like $5,000. Because
I
like changes out the
mean,
water, because it needs to have different people in there, and you don't want to go sit in somebody else's cold plunge water. Just like you don't want to sit in their dirty bath water. Same idea. So it like circulates the water through. But the idea behind that, and obviously is spreading like wildfire, is that for people who value their health and fitness on a daily basis, that it does have benefits for them. And we can all kind of like come to terms with that, because if an athlete is using it for a certain purpose, you can kind of surmise that it would be beneficial to every person, right? Like if we're just trying to maximize our recovery, if we're looking at some of the health benefits and looking at how we can benefit or we can help our body in the recovery process, that is definitely important in ways that we could learn from that. But immersing yourself in cold water basically like constricts blood vessels. And but the thing is, like, cold plunges don't just have an effect on your muscles, your tissues, but it also has an effect on your hormone levels. So it's been found to like reduce levels of cortisol, which is associated with stress, which obviously is beneficial for everyone. But like anything else, there is absolutely no one size fits all for cold plunges, because we also have to recognize like our hormone levels are running at different places. It differs. We can all, it's been agreed on, from a study standpoint, that like the effects, even for athletes, has been studied on, have different effects on every athlete and vary through sport. So there's a lot of
I'm
variations.
so glad that you said that, because imagine there's no one size fits all for
Yeah.
everybody. That's gonna, like, imagine that. I mean, if there was a theme to the podcast, that would, are some people cold plunging and loving it? Yes, absolutely. Are some people doing CrossFit and loving it? Yes. Are some people running marathons? Yes. Are some people eating all vegetarian? Yes. Like, these things are, it's just such a personal journey. And this is no exception. There are no exceptions. I'm going to go ahead and say that. There are no exceptions to there is no one size fits all. So if you've been thinking about cold plunging, we're going to present the info. Okay.
That we have
But
gathered and that
that
we
we have
liked the
gathered
best.
for you.
Yeah.
But the fact is, I don't care if you sat me down and listed 900 benefits and guaranteed me that I was going to, feel all of them times 10. There is a certain percentage of people that are not going to be, they're not cold tolerant. They are not, that's never going to be an activity that they're going to look forward to, or like enjoy in any way, or the benefits are not going to outweigh the extreme uncomfortableness. Now, on that note, here's what I want to say is, in my opinion, the only proven thing that cold plunges actually do. Because there's a lot of like, is this a placebo? Could you get it another way? Is this right for you? Right. But here's the universal thing that cold plunges do: they make you uncomfortable. Every single person is uncomfortable in a cold plunge. Okay. Every person. But the benefits to being uncomfortable are proven, in that this does help your resilience mentally and your discipline. Having control over your mind and acting as the supreme boss, so that like your mind is in control of what is happening in your body, and the discomfort that your body is experiencing can be controlled by your mind to a certain degree. That is a freaking powerful thing. I cannot say enough about how much I think people need to practice being uncomfortable in order to be prepared to be uncomfortable. It is not a skill that you're born with. It is not, people that are resilient didn't just wake up that like that one day. These are practice skills. It's just like anything else that you're going to do. It's just like being in the gym. Okay. You don't walk in and back squat 300 pounds. These are things that are developed, and people are actively working on these skills. And resilience and mental toughness is one of those. And I think that the people that you see cold plunging, they understand the benefits of being uncomfortable. And I don't think that this is the only way to be uncomfortable. That's why I'm saying like it's not for me, because I put myself in uncomfortable situations in different ways that I feel like are going to benefit my mental resilience. You need to be doing that on a daily basis. However, does it need to be in a tub? Maybe, maybe not. But are you absolutely going to build mental toughness and be able to use that in the rest of your life if you put yourself in these situations where you're extremely uncomfortable? Yes, beneficial.
I love that you said that, because there's been so many times that I've just had straight disagreements with people when it comes to resilience, practicing resilience, and those who are born with it and those who are not. And It's just a fact that you develop resilience, you develop mental toughness, just like everything else that you are developing as a human as we live and we grow. And the fact is that we have different experiences throughout our lives that has either contributed to building more resilience or contributed to building a lack of resilience or a lack of confidence, which in turn makes you less resilient. So it's one of those things where like we all have very different life experiences that will contribute in some ways or the other, but we need to continue building these and continue to develop the skills of resilience and being uncomfortable. Cold plunges have historically served as a purpose for that. They've been known for being used in meditation and looking at people who specifically work at mental toughness and building resilience with different people that don't have anything to do with sport or the physical effects on the body, and have used cold plunges in this area. I had two friends that went to a training, and it was just a mental resilience. It was that was the only thing. It was not physical, and they did a cold plunge during that seminar. And the whole thing was kind of talking through some meditative states, looking at like mind over matter. And when we start to talk about a placebo effect, you really do understand how much your mind is affecting the feelings of your body and affecting your performance. So the fact that those two are working hand in hand when we talk about cold plunges is absolutely not shocking in any way, because in every aspect of your life, that's how this is going to work. So if you find that cold plunging to work on your resilience and being uncomfortable is something that can work for you, I would say that's definitely something to look into. I, on the other hand, like, I hate being cold, but I'm interested in cold plunges. When my coach had got one in Florida, he was like, "Will you do it?" And I was like, "Can we get a sauna? I like to be uncomfortably warm."
I
Like,
can't I don't think you can put "I like to be
I like
uncomfortably
to
blank."
be
I don't think that's how
uncomfortable.
that works.
If
Mm.
I had a level of uncomfort, I would like it to be warm. If we're looking at just physical benefits, like that's what I would like to do. But I know it's not. It's definitely not the same. But aside from your mental resilience that we're looking for as some possible benefits to cold plunging, there is some science that is backing up cold plunges, being able to train something called the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is in your brain and it runs through your face and down to your abdominal. This nerve is the main contributor for your parasympathetic nervous system, which we have talked about like a ton during when we're talking about training, because you want to think about your parasympathetic and your sympathetic nervous system when it comes to training. But this is crucial for overseeing some things, bodily functions, including your mood, your immune system, digestive, heart rate, and a ton more, which obviously is very important not only for your life but for training as well. So this is so basically when we look at the effects um, on the vagus nerve, we look at some potential training for the vagus nerve to train your body, train your brain and physical body to handle more stress, which goes back to the first point of becoming more resilient. So you're just looking at training this specific part of your brain to have the ability to handle more stress.
Well, it's like becoming like a sensei of your own body. Like, it's when we say like doing uncomfortable things to get, a better idea of what it takes to be more resilient and building up those skills. That's great. This is the actual science behind what's happening when we're talking about that. And when you look at people who are very in touch with their body, they have the ability to do things like slow down their own heart rate. This is the vagus nerve at work, right? You're telling your body how to function, okay? And that is a possibility. A lot of us think we're like totally out of control with how our body functions, and like We have no say. It's just happening all without us. But there is a ton of research to back up the fact that, and when we talked to Dana about, gut health and stuff, this was another thing. She was like, all of the stress and the things that are going on inside your brain, sending that down to the gut and causing disruption down there. Like, even though, they don't seem linked, right? Or you don't seem like you're in control of your digestion, you actually are to a certain extent. And so when you train things like a cold plunge, what you're doing is putting your body under extreme duress and then telling your body how to function under that duress using your vagus nerve. Like, your mind is telling your body everything that it wants to do in a cold plunge is hyperventilate, shiver uncontrollably, and send your heart rate skyrocketing. The point of cold plunging is that when you're training your vagus nerve is that you're going to tell your body to not do those things. You're not going to hyperventilate. You're going to get control over your breath. You're going to count your breaths. You're going to get like a full ass, like, sensei thing going on where you actually tell your body to not do the things that it is going to want to do when it's submerged in a bunch of cold water. It's not going to shake uncontrollably. You're not going to send your heart rate skyrocketing. You're going to control your breathing, which is going to control your heart rate. These are also things that you can do when you're facing a stressful situation, right?
Absolutely.
Your body, in a panic attack, it wants to hyperventilate. If you have practice in showing your own body how to function under stressful situations, it's like, damn, I can control my own stress response.
Yeah.
Holy shit. That's like new level unlocked. I control my stress response. It's not just like all happening to me. And that's why I love cold plunges. I don't love them for me, but I love them for people who are no, I'm just saying, like, I'm gonna do it a different way, is all.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, but
Well,
you
I
need to
think
do
it's,
that.
but you need to do that. But it's really important to think about what the connections from your brain and your body, and looking at like the connection built there is basically you're letting your body know, or your body letting your brain know, like the inner state of your organs. Like, that's a transfer of information coming to your brain, but you need to make that connection. And that's how we start to gain more control in those areas, by first making that connection. So I think a lot of people, when we talk to them about, different things that are happening with their body, when it comes to stress responses, hormone responses, when it comes to being uncomfortable, and when it comes to gastrointestinal issues, like we talked about, last week, we talk about the idea that there is so much dysfunction between this connection between your brain and your body, that we don't actually even know or trust what is happening with our body, because we aren't practicing having those connections. And those are, again, something that needs to be built and practiced. But we see it in ways where we say, my stomach is really upset when I'm under a lot of emotional stress. That connection is happening, and we can, on a surface level, make that connection, that the cause for my upset stomach, or the cause of, my bump in hormones, my bump in cortisol level, is my emotional stress. My body isn't under physical stress, so there's no reason why I would be having these physiological changes to stress, other than the fact that it's coming from my brain. But we scratch that on a surface level, right? We say like, oh, I know I'm so stressed, my stomach is upset. But we don't, from the next level, look at how can I start to make those connections in a purposeful way, so that I can practice being under some type of duress, so that it doesn't have this massive physiological effect on my body, and I can manage that a little bit better.
So many people have pointed to cold plunges as the reason that they can get up and do public speaking, and they couldn't before.
Yes.
Like this, like, seriously, because like their body just responded so poorly in the past to the idea of speaking in front of an audience or, being under that kind of situation. Their body responded so poorly that they physically could not do the thing that they wanted to do. And like something like cold plunging allowed them to practice this skill so that when it came to the time to get up in front of people, they could tell their body how to respond in an appropriate way so that they could do the thing that they wanted to do. And it's an incredible thing when you think about these little things, like these little daily things that you're doing that are like actually making the whole difference in the things you want to do or the things you're able to do, the big things, right? And it's like this idea of cold plunging 3 times a week allowed me to speak in front of a whole company of people. And
But that's a purposeful adjustment to something that you want to do and putting things in place to being able to do it. I think so many of us get stuck in a story of that's just not something I can do. That's just not, I want to do that, but that's just not something that I have historically been able to do. That's just not me. I'm not an athlete. I don't have discipline. All of these other stories that we're continuously telling ourselves as to why we can't do the thing to live our best life, instead of putting pieces in place to allow us. I can't do that yet. Anytime I've said something out loud that I have not felt like I've had the ability to do, I always add a yet to it, because if I'm saying it out loud, it's clearly something that's important to me and I'm putting some kind of concerted effort into. So if I'm not able to do that right now, I'm not able to do that yet, I'm going to put some things in place, whether that's a cold plunge, whether that's meditation, whether that's mobility flows, whatever it is, to be able to put some pieces in place so that I am able to do the thing that I want to do. Because ultimately, like, that's what we're all here doing, right? Just deciding the things that we want to do during this life. And then not just like being like, well, I wanted to do that, but it's not going to happen for me. Like, it's a long but short life. Let's put some things in place that might be able to contribute to you doing the thing that you want to do.
dude, that's freedom right there. That's like the ultimate freedom, right? And so if you're thinking about maybe that this might be something that you want to include, we're going to give you some jumping off points as to, where to start, what you should expect. These are not, I think probably everyone can realize now, these are not from personal experience. Okay.
No,
I do not cold plunge, nor does Kelsey, but that is, it is
I
something that you're
have
thinking about. You
though.
have.
I
You
have.
do
I
not
have
do it
done
on
it.
the reg.
No, I've done it several times in college and since in my own bathtub, where I was literally holding to the sides. I was recovering from an injury. I was holding to the sides of the bathtub and had to be pushed down into the water because I was literally like, my body's response was like a cat, you know what I mean? If you try to like, it was like not, and I was like there, like trying to get in, but I wasn't going down on my own.
I would not put you in the category of a mentally unstrong, like a mentally weak person. I just want to say that, like, just because someone cold plunges does not mean they're mentally strong. Just because they don't doesn't mean they're not. Like, it's a tactic. It's a tactic. It's a tool. We can use it. If you're thinking about trying it, we're looking at water. I think people think that they have to have like water that's like has ice floating in it and stuff. And that is not necessary. I would not recommend starting with that, and nor would the experts. You should probably start with water that's just below 60. That's plenty. Like, you don't need, actually, my
70.
my my start for you would be a cold shower. Even less than that would be your normal temperature shower and ending with like 30 seconds of cold, right?
And then
And
maybe
like,
like a hot.
no, no.
Like just at the very end, just like, whoa.
No, that's not that is not my advice. If you I preface this, if you're interested in this, if you want to start, okay? So that's not
Mhm,
you, so
mhm.
stop listening. So do a couple of seconds at the end of your shower cold, then like a minute at the end of your shower cold, and then start thinking about submersion. And it doesn't, again, it doesn't have to be icy water. Like you can, anything below 60 is a cold plunge. All right. So as far as how long, I would say, in your first plunge, just aim for a minute. Like, you don't need to be spending 10 minutes in there. Like, aim for a minute. Think about getting your breath under control first. And then think about, the other things we talked about, like controlling your heart rate, controlling the shivering. And I don't think that, necessarily you need to be with the goal of building up to every day. Most people do not need to be cold plunging every day. If this is something that interests you and you want to explore the benefits for your body, like 3 times a week is great. But I think that the number one thing that experts say on cold plunging is that consistency is important. So you don't want to just be like randomly cold plunging when you're feeling like masochistic about yourself. Like if you want to see the true benefits in like mood and inflammation, circulation in your body, like sleep, there's a lot of people that are pointing to this that has a lot of sleep benefits. Again, this needs to be something that you're consistently practicing. One of the things that they said about sleep and why they think it benefits you is not so much the cold temperature, like having some kind of effect on like hibernation or something like that. Why they think that it is that when you practice controlling your mind to calm the fuck down, you also can do that when it's racing and you can't sleep at night, right? A lot of people have trouble falling asleep because they have like all these thoughts and all this, like their cortisol levels are through the roof because they have, all these to-do lists that are running through their mind, or intrusive thoughts, or like whatever. Or some people like even wake up in the middle of the night with those, and they can't find a way to eliminate those and actually control their own brain to be able to go back to sleep. And they found that cold plunging, building that vagus nerve connection between your mind and your body, actually helps you to be able to turn off those thoughts and have full control over, I am going to sleep now, and putting your own self to sleep.
Exactly. There's also some benefits when we have talked about the benefits to some of your digestive system and looking at your hormone regulation. So anytime any of these things are off, you're going to look at having some difficulty sleeping. So it it's always one of those things where we kind of go like chicken egg, like what's going on. But anytime we get a lot of these things under some type of regulation, your ability to do other things like rest, recover, that builds up your immune system, that helps regulate your hormones as well. Anytime we can get these that are more at a homeostasis level, we are going to improve the other aspects of your life. So for a lot of people who have found cold plunging to be extremely beneficial for them, they have seen the effects in several areas of their life, including sleep benefits and including, hormone regulation for a lot of people. Now, I do just want to say, um, when you are thinking about, like Rachel talked briefly about, how cold is the water, and some of us are going like 60 degrees, like that. If you live in a colder climate, you're like, wow, these people are such babies, because like 60 degrees, like sandals, I have coffee weather here in the spring in Massachusetts. But that's actually not how water feels when you're submerged. That's very cold for your body. It feels very different than a spring 60-degree day. So that is plenty cold. The major warnings that I had looked at when it came to cold plungings is having the water too cold and it being very shocking for your body. So, like, as a general disclaimer, before you start cold plunging at all, like, really make sure that you're not just like, the water is going to be at 30 degrees. It should not be. It should be around 60 degrees. Like, that is absolutely where the recommendation is to start. And like she said, like just a couple minutes, like a minute, maybe a couple minutes See if it might be something for you. I always recommend, anytime I say, like, if you're thinking about something being for you, trying it once isn't actually just trying it. You have to give it a couple times. Like, I would say the same thing for a yoga class, for a CrossFit class, going to work, like anything in your life. Like, you don't just do it one time and say, like, maybe this is for me, this isn't for me. I mean, if you know a hard no, then maybe you know. But I would say just definitely try it a couple times and see where you come on the other side of that, and see if you want to build it into your life and your routine.
Yeah, I think I'm glad that you said, the idea, just introducing the idea that like you can overdo this, okay? Because this is such a thing that it really I can see the type A personalities being like, "Oh, what's that something I can do to make myself uncomfortable? Where do I sign up?" Like this is, or like I see a lot of times the bros, trying to beat their other guy's time, like how long you can cold plunge. Okay, people will make this into a competitive thing. Type A people will make this into like a I went colder than you type of thing, or I know what to do. The colder it is, the better it is for me. So like I'll literally sit and I like that's not it, guys. It's not one of those things that you can do
So
that with.
individual.
It's so individual, and it definitely isn't something that is the colder and the longer the better. So don't type A this. Don't just do it to the most extreme that you can do it. Start slow. But certainly I see the benefits. I would recommend that anybody who is interested in this definitely give this a try. I don't think you need a $5,000 tub, just saying. I think like a little barrel in your backyard will probably do it.
You can do
And
it in your house, just in your bathtub.
a shower, like you can take a cold shower. You're going to see really similar benefits, like the same kind of way that you get increased blood flow and, the mood things. And you're still making yourself uncomfortable. I just think that the main thing here is find some way to practice resilience. If it's cold plunges, great. If it's really difficult workouts, great. If it's signing up for things that make you feel uncomfortable and showing up to them, great. But this is just one of the tools in your recovery box that you can use. Benefits still, a lot of them are still remains to be seen, but I definitely think it's something worth looking into for sure.
Yeah, I would agree. Overall, I would say this is definitely something worth looking into. But I would be remiss if I didn't say something about the placebo effect, because I looked at a couple different studies when it came to the effects of cold plunging, which have been found to be effective. But some of them have looked at a placebo effect, and one of the studies was giving athletes who had completed a high intensity interval training session a placebo boost, and their recovery worked just as well at improving their recovery over 48 hours as cold water immersion. So it improved the athlete's perception of their recovery, which therefore improved their performance over a 48-hour span. And number one, like, if you could just, I know that's a lot of information, but what I want you to kind of like think about with that is, number one, how impactful and powerful a placebo effect is, because your body literally, or your brain is literally that powerful when it comes to just saying, like, I have recovered better because I have gotten a recovery boost. Like, that's it. The effects of that are felt within your body just as much as the effects of a cold water plunge, which literally put your body in a different simulation and had this effect of recovery. Now, in the same study that ranged from um, the different variations of training that athletes were doing. Cyclists had a different um, a different result. CrossFit athletes had a different result. Theirs was actually more of an exception, as being geared towards the recovery improving more than the placebo, because they were looking at CrossFit athletes who had been subjected to competition, which is several days of training. So their body was under a different level of duress than some of the other athletes, which looked at like more of a higher interval training, or some of the cyclists. So this, it's not only going to different, it's not going to differ just based on person to person, but the level of training that you're doing, the type of exercise that you're doing, there's going to be different results that come from a muscle recovery and your perception of your recovery based on what you're given. So overall, that's a lot of information. We can link any of these studies with you guys because it was really interesting to learn about. But overall, you know how powerful your mind is. You know that. We've talked about that over and over. We know how powerful the connection from your mind to your body is, and that connection must be practiced. So if nothing else, practice that connection. And if you find that cold plunging might be something that you're interested in, I think it's interesting. Personally, I'm looking at cold plunging. There's enough research here for me to say I could cold plunge, maybe.
Good luck to you. Good
Because
luck
I
to you.
find it interesting enough.
I'll cheer for you.
But I'll cheer for you right from the side. Like, I'll cheer for you for that. But guys, if you think that it might be interesting enough for you to try on an individual basis, let us know. And if
Yeah.
you see any other fads out there that you want us to talk about, including butthole sunning, we're happy to do it.
I'm doing my own episode on that.
We'll sift through the information so you don't have to.
Exactly. And if you have tried cold plunging and you want to tell us about it too, like, yeah, we'd love to hear your experience as well. So get with us in the app, get with us in the group, and take care of your buttholes and whatnot. Have a great week.